Week 1 of the 2024 NFL season is here. We're going to pick all the games for you today on the Locked On NFL Scouting Podcast.
You are Locked On NFL Scouting with the Draft Dudes, your daily podcast for NFL and college football scouting. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's better than this? It's guys being dudes here on the Locked On NFL Scouting Podcast. We're the Draft Dudes. I'm Joe Marino from Locked On Bills. He's Kyle Crabbs from Locked On Dolphins. And we are your NFL experts here with you daily to talk team building across the league on the Locked On NFL Scouting Podcast with the Draft Dudes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Want to issue a big thank you, shout out, and welcome to our everydayers. Those of you who never miss a single episode, we appreciate y'all being here very, very much. Today's episode is brought to you by PrizePicks, the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL and use code all lowercase LockedOnNFL to win $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to get the $50 bonus. PrizePicks, run your game.
Joe, I have a take. Good morning to you.
Good morning. Yes, hi.
I don't know if you noticed this. I don't know if you saw this, but the San Francisco 49ers restructured the contract of Deebo Samuel.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that?
I think everything that's happened with the San Francisco 49ers over the last week, but also maybe extending back to the draft, tells you that the vision and blueprint that they had laid out for how they wanted to manage their roster, it didn't go the way that they wanted to. And I think they've had to pivot and do some things that they didn't anticipate doing.
I guess my question for you is this, and I know we got a long slate of stuff to get into. If they're a team that has the number one amount of cap space in the NFL already, and they were trying to get rid of Deebo Samuel, why would you restructure the Deebo Samuel contract and prorate more dollars out into future years, setting yourself up to take larger dead cap hits? I think I have the answer.
Yeah,
but
because the cap's going to go up, and dollars today are different than dollars tomorrow.
There's also an element for San Francisco of immediate cap relief. Because, yes, you prorate more money out, but if you were to post June 1st Deebo Samuel next offseason, when do you get the money?
Following year.
And you can't access the savings in year one until when? After
June 1st, right.
If you restructure them now and you don't spend the cap carryover and you carry it over, when do you access the savings on the cap?
Now?
Immediately.
Yeah.
It's March through June 1st spending opportunity that you pay a little surcharge on because you restructured the contract. I don't know if we've ever really got into that as far as like contract management, salary cap, post June 1st cuts versus restructures now that you can then roll the cap over into and get a percentage of it. I think it's going to end up being like 80% of it because it's like what, right? Like 1/5. You're going to eat 1/5 of the prorated dollars out. So kind of an interesting thing for San Francisco, who already had like $50 million in cap space to restructure Deebo Samuel's contract. So the idea of, well, we can access the money that we are going to save next year if we do move on from Deebo Samuel earlier because we don't have to put this contract on ice until June 2nd to be able to spend the money. Interesting.
Yeah.
Let's get into it. Got games starting tonight.
I'm going to pick them all.
We're going to pick them all. Joe and I are picking straight up. We're doing pick 'em. The roster power rankings are going against the spread. We did this last year. We have a formula that we grade all the players on all the teams. We just got done spending 2 hours updating it for all of the roster transactions since we finished the series in the summertime to get everybody's depth charts up to date and all that kind of stuff. So there's numerical values attributed to all the teams based off of the talent on the roster, the depth of the roster, the coaching staffs of the roster, to try to give a value for power rankings. And then we correlate a home field advantage into that. And we get our own spreads that we compare to the FanDuel spreads. And based on if our spread is bigger than the spread, we take the favorite. If it's smaller than the spread, we take the underdog. So just know that Joe and I are just going to pick who we think wins the game. NFL scouting roster is picking against the spread. Let's start, Joe, with tonight. AFC Conference Championship game rematch. Much has been made about Lamar Jackson in his career as an underdog. Coming into this game, he's a very good record, but he is also 1-4, I believe.
Yeah.
Chiefs.
Yep.
So stoppable force meets movable object, or vice versa. What are your thoughts tonight?
I like the Chiefs. I think the Chiefs win tonight. And not only that, you mentioned Lamar's record against Kansas City. Andy Reid 9-2 in openers over the last 11 years. It's like the tied for the best record in the NFL over that span. But I think it's the continuity that Kansas City has at their disposal on both sides of the ball, where Baltimore has, got 3 new starters on the offensive line, a ton of shift on that defense. I think Kansas City takes care of business tonight.
Yeah, I think where Kansas City is weakest, they're missing Hollywood Brown with the dislocated clavicle, sternoclavicular joint. They've got a rookie left tackle starting. Is Baltimore going to be in a position to take advantage of either of those two things? Conversely, Baltimore has a lot of new on their offensive line going against Chris Jones and company with Steve Spagnuolo. I don't like the mix, right? And the storyline for Detroit to serve that win in Arrowhead last year to open the season was Chris Jones didn't play in the game, right? Like, it was such a big piece of it. Did Kelsey play, but was banged up?
Was banged up, yeah.
Play.
There was weird dynamics with Kansas City. I think they avenged that in this game.
I think they will do what they need to do as well. Now, our rankings have these as 2 of the best teams in the league, and they think the spread, when factoring in home field advantage, is slightly smaller than -3. So the show is taking Baltimore +3, but we are both picking Kansas City to win the football.
Yep.
Okay. Tomorrow night. It feels weird. Tomorrow night.
I'm just happy. I'm happy it's a football game tomorrow night, so we'll take it.
Right. We just need one on Saturday instead of we have 13 games at 1:00 or something like it feels like it. Green Bay and Philadelphia playing neutral site game. Philadelphia technically the home team, but this game's in Brazil, so neutral site to open the season for these two teams. Joe, the show likes the Packers to cover +2.5.
I think I like the Packers too here, Kyle. What I'm going to lean into is that Philly's got coordinator changes on both sides of the ball, where I think Green Bay's carrying over quite a bit. I think they have some upgrades on the defense. We'll see how Halfley does as a coordinator, but I just kind of have a little bit more belief in Green Bay. If they need to score a bunch of points in this game, I kind of feel like they can do it. I'm leaning into the Packers in week 1.
I think the Packers' well-roundedness with their skill group will serve them very well in this game. Where you look at Philadelphia and uploading a new defensive scheme, both teams uploading a new defensive scheme, but I just kind of trust the balance of what Green Bay is. I need to see what Philadelphia is with Kellen Moore offensively before I'm ready to believe that they're going to be a big bounce back candidate to the degree in which they were the previous year in 2022 when they played in the Super Bowl. So I think Green Bay's a hotter team. I think they're probably a little bit of a deeper team. And because of that, I'm also taking Green Bay because this is a neutral site game. So everybody's in on the Packers here on Locked On NFL Scout.
Imagine if
fans don't get mad at us.
Imagine it being any other way, Kyle Crabbs. All right, let's get to the Sunday slate here on the other side of it, folks. Be sure to stick with us. PrizePicks is America's #1 daily fantasy sports app with over 5 million active members. And PrizePicks is the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Unlike other apps, PrizePicks, it's just you against numbers. Here's what you do. You pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections, and you watch the winnings roll in. PrizePicks is the only real money daily fantasy sports platform with an injury insurance policy so that your lineups stay in play even if your players get injured. And PrizePicks puts their members first, so all withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. And when my picks hit, I get money as quick as 15 minutes. There's some stuff I love in these early games. Lamar Jackson, you can get him more than 1.5 touchdowns. That's total touchdowns in the game, passing, rushing, receiving. I also love Jordan Love to have more than 7.5 rushing yards on Friday night. So check those out over at PrizePicks. Download the PrizePicks app today and use code LOCKEDONNFL and get $50 instantly when you play $5. That's code LOCKEDONNFL on PrizePicks to get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. PrizePicks, Run your game.
So our first 1:00 kick that we have on our slate is Tennessee at Chicago, with the Bears at home favored by 4.5 points.
I hate this matchup, man. I feel like a lot of questions about both offenses in week one. What I'm going to do here, the reason I'm going to pick the Bears is this. Continuity on the coaching staff on the defensive side of the football. I know there's a new defensive coordinator, but let's be honest, Matt Eberflus is still there. I think them against Tennessee and all that they have, the new moving parts on that offense, makes me feel better about their odds here as opposed to Tennessee and what they have on defense going up against Chicago. Now, I'm worried about Caleb Williams in his debut. And
rookie quarterbacks do not have a very good
home crowd
first start.
Pressure. Like, I get all that. I hate all that. The thing that I trust the most in this game is the Bears defense, and the Bears are the home team. That's why I'm picking Chicago.
Okay. The show likes Tennessee to cover 4.5 for the record.
Get it. Yeah, I get it.
It's very close though. It is almost 4.5. But I think Tennessee's going to be those teams I mess with a little bit this year. I'm picking the Titans in this game.
Yeah.
And part of the thought process here is I look at where Chicago does have their weaknesses, right? I kind of feel like Tennessee has a little bit of an advantage on both sides of the ball in the trenches. I think they can look to run the ball. I think that offensive line, particularly with Lloyd Cushenberry and Skoronski and J.C. Latham, against what do we have on the inside for Chicago? Do we know and feel good about it?
Not great, Kyle.
Right. In Tennessee, I say what you will about all the new pieces, but there's one thing Chicago has really good coming into this matchup. It's their wide receivers, and I think L'Jarius Sneed and Chidobe Awuzie at the beginning of the season, I have some concerns about how he's going to hold up long-term throughout the season. And then Roger McCreary, I think they can match some personnel. So give me Tennessee in an upset on the road, winning in Chicago.
I understand the pick completely.
Pittsburgh at Atlanta, the show. This is the first favorite that the show is riding with on the schedule this season. They like Atlanta by an extra point more than the current FanDuel spread at -3.5. I'll jump in here if you don't mind. I also like Atlanta at home. Give me the Falcons to win the game.
I hate this game. I feel like this is such a bad draw for Atlanta in terms of their offense against this Pittsburgh defense. I really hate it in so many ways because I think Pittsburgh's defense is going to be strong, and their defensive line is really, really deep. And Atlanta's the better overall team. I don't think that Pittsburgh is in a position to take advantage of any questions that you have about Atlanta's defense. I have to pick Atlanta.
Joe, just hear me out. Russell Wilson's at quarterback. We have Matthew Judon and Justin Simmons as part of this Falcons defensive depth chart, and Pittsburgh's offensive line is banged up. Atlanta's at home. Can we make it that simple?
Probably.
Okay. So everybody on the show is riding the Falcons. Our next game, Sunshine State. Sunshine State. Say it 5 times fast.
I can't. I'm not going to try.
I almost did it again. Sunshine State matchup. Jags at Dolphins. FanDuel spread at Dolphins -3.5, according to Joe Marino. I've seen a lot of 3.5 floating around there. The show likes Miami by just a smidge to cover, -3.5. What do you think, Joe?
What did I just get done telling you? I thought the record for the Dolphins would be like 9-2
early in their first 10 games or 11 games.
Yeah, I think they're gonna win a bunch of games to start the year. I don't like this game for Miami. I'm picking Jacksonville, and the reason why is I really like Ryan Nielsen, their defensive coordinator. I just feel like they have so many prototypes across that defense. Their length, their ability to restrict some throwing windows and maybe get some quick pressure up front with the Dolphins offensive line that has some question marks. And I just kind of I feel like there's a lot of pieces for this Miami offense that maybe they didn't get the reps that you would expect going into this first game. So that plus questions about the Dolphins on defense. What's the edge rush going to be like? Is Ramsey going to be able to play? I feel like they're going to be okay. I think Miami's going to win a bunch of games to start the year, but I do think that they fall into an 0-1 hole.
I think if Jalen Ramsey goes, and we'll find out more between today and tomorrow, I think Miami will win the game. I think the back seven for Jacksonville, I agree with everything that you say. From an upfront perspective, their whole MO is trying to mitigate those advantages with the style of play that they play. They did it a number of times last year. I don't know that Jacksonville offensively, with a bunch of new at wide receiver, is going to be the team that's best positioned to stress Miami offensively into a game script that kind of gets them out of rhythm. So I think Miami wins. I would not be surprised if it is closer than the 3.5 point spread. So I'm a little surprised the show is taking the Dolphins to cover the spread. But as long as Ramsey goes, I do think the Dolphins will win this game.
I think it's a fair point about the newness at receiver, but it's important that Kirk and Ingram are the guys for that offense. There's top two guys are still around.
But that's why I think it's important that Ramsey plays for the qualifier.
Yeah, that'd be huge. That'd be huge. Are you saying that if Ramsey doesn't play, you're picking Jacksonville?
Yeah, probably.
Well, you got to go. You got to pick. You got to decide that.
All right. Well, I'm going to assume that Ramsey plays because he hasn't been determined out. It's kind of he hasn't practiced in a couple of weeks. It's listed as a hamstring issue. We'll see if that's really what it is. I'll say Miami. I'll say Miami wins.
Next one's easier, right?
I'm a little disappointed you held my feet to the fire here. This would not have been the first time we qualified a player availability.
Right? No, I understand that. I wanted to know, is that your pick? Like, if Ramsey's going to go, or
if Ramsey plays, yes.
Okay.
But put me on the record. I'll say Miami. The next game is Cincinnati at home against the New England Patriots.
Bengals.
Patriots not standing a chance.
Right.
We have this as almost a 2-touchdown line with NFL scouting spreads. And the actual spread is 8.5. So the show really likes Cincinnati as well. Indianapolis hosting Houston for our next game. The Houston Texans favored on the road by 2.5 points.
I think Indy could be able to run the ball in this game and really control things with their O-line against Houston's D-line. Like, that would be my reason for optimism. The reality is, if Houston can get a lead and kind of make the Colts play a different style than they want to play in this game, I think that's possible. And I think the Colts secondary leaves a lot of question marks. And so I think the Texans will be too explosive offensively for them to fall into the script that I think Indy needs to win this game. I'm going Houston.
Yeah, I'm going Houston too. The show is riding with Indy covering. It does have Houston favored by less than 2.5. So they think it's pretty close. A little worried about Josh Downs and his availability. I know he did some practice on the side yesterday, but that CB2 matchup with Kamari Lassiter feels like the spot to try to attack. And I don't know that the Colts, without having Jelani Woods and potentially not having Josh Downs, I think that really hurts their ability to really threaten Houston and some of the weak points that Houston has. And you make a great point about all of the youth that Indy has at corner against one of the more dynamic wide receiver trios in the game. It's just a little bit of a bad mix, and this would have been a great game to have Samson Ebukam going against Laramie Tunsil.
Right.
So Joe and I pick 'em Texans. Show likes Texans head up, but likes the Colts to cover the spread. The Vikings. Let's get one more in here.
Why does this game exist? Okay.
Because we have to play them all and see what happens.
Right, we do, and this is part of that.
The Vikings are favored on the road against the Giants, who we were just admiring the work that Joe Shane has done going into the affairs of this roster.
Yeah, we sure were.
Vikings minus 1.5 on the road. The show likes the Vikings by 3. So the show is taking the Vikings to cover a 1.5 point spread on the road.
Dude, I come on. What is this game? I'm
taking the Giants strictly off the vibes.
I'm going to pick the Giants because they're the home team. My whole rationale. They're the home team.
I unfortunately have no educated analysis for this pick whatsoever. It's just Giants got to win a couple games, right? They're not going to go on 17.
Yeah.
And you look at the rest of the schedule, I don't know how many you're going to feel good about. And Sam Darnold coming in, first time to get your feet wet as a starter. Ball security issues are a big question for them. So put us down for the Giants. The show disagrees and likes the Vikings to cover the spread. I
have good news for everybody. If we haven't picked your team's game yet, it's coming up on the other side of it. So be sure to stick with us. When you're hiring for your small business, you want to find quality professionals that are right for the role. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs has the tools to help you find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. LinkedIn isn't just another job board. LinkedIn helps you hire professionals that you can't find anywhere else, even those who aren't actively searching for a new job but might be open to the perfect role. In a given month, over 70% of LinkedIn users don't even visit other leading job sites. So if you're not looking on LinkedIn, you're looking in the wrong place. On LinkedIn, 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours. So hire professionals like a professional on LinkedIn. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL. That's linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply.
Joe, by the way, happy National Kyle drops his initial top 50 rankings day to you.
Oh, very, very good. I will
30,
peruse that later on.
Yeah. Panthers in New Orleans against the Saints. Saints favored by 3.5 points, according to FanDuel. The show likes the Panthers by +3.
Ooh.
So we are taking the Panthers on a show spread basis. I'm really worried about New Orleans.
I mean, sure, but like what? Who are you picking? Go ahead.
I'm going to pick the Saints because they're at home. But I am a little worried about their ability to block anybody up front. So I could very easily see this being one of the games where Carolina has some maulers up front. They turn it into an ugly game. It finishes 16-10. One bounce of the ball could turn it one way or another. It feels like that kind of game.
Like the Atlanta game against Carolina week 1 last year.
Exactly right.
Right. Yeah, I know what you mean.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
I'm picking the Saints, but I don't like it. And I would not touch this with real money if my life depended on it.
Yeah, I'm going to pick the Saints as well because the thing I trust about, like on either side, is the Saints defense. They're the home team. I'm leaning into New Orleans.
All right. The Bills hosting the Arizona Cardinals, West Coast team coming east for 1:00 kick. Bills favored by 6.5 points. The show likes it by about twice that, and I like the Bills by about twice that too.
Yeah, I think the Bills win.
Cardinals just feel like they're another year away.
They don't have the defense, right? Like I think their offense is going to be pretty good. Their defense, I don't think they have it.
Their last 2 years, they've given up first and third most points in franchise history in single seasons the last 2 years. And I understand they played 17 games, but like still,
yeah,
it's pretty steep. Raiders at Chargers. Trendy playoff pick LA Chargers. Hosting the Raiders. Raiders favored at home by 3 points. The show likes the Chargers. Did I say that right? Or did I flip-flop it?
No, the show likes the Chargers, right?
Yeah, but the Chargers are favored at home by 3 points. Just make sure I got that part right.
Yep.
The show likes the Chargers by 5.5. So the show is taking the Chargers to cover.
I'm picking the Raiders to win the game.
Me too, baby.
Yeah,
Let's go. I thought I was going to be on an island.
No, I got real money on this. I have this is one of my upset picks this week. I like the Raiders. I think their defense is legit. It's better, right? They've improved it, and they have a scrappy vibe to them, man. And the Chargers, I don't think they have the defense to do it. I don't think they have the pass catchers to do it. I think the Raiders win like a 17-13 type game.
Well, and also for the Chargers too. I mean, we were just looking at their expected depth chart. Dion Henley's expected to play, and they've kind of gone outside the well for some safety help. This is going to be a pretty heavy 12 personnel team in Las Vegas. And I like what they've done from their offensive line perspective to put a bunch of physical guys on this line. So the Chargers, I mean, they're picking Tier Tart up off, trying to get some interior defensive line reinforcements. I'm not sure how they're going to match the tight ends. Gardner Minshew's a little slippery. He can extend some plays. And I think that the addition of Christian Wilkins to the defensive front, along with Malcolm Kuntz and his continued development, they can press the Chargers in some other spots. And Joe Alt playing in his first career game, it's just...
He's got Crosby. Yeah. Welcome to the league, bud.
Right.
Here's Crosby.
That's going to be a pretty rude awakening. And maybe it's not. And if it's not, then I think the Chargers will win the game. But
Tyler Guyton gets Myles Garrett.
How many times
Joe Alt gets Max Crosby, man?
How many times do you think the Chargers run the ball? They're probably going to try to run right at Crosby. I'm sure that's their game plan, right?
Sure. Yeah, I'm sure they're going to run the ball a lot, like Greg Roman, and this is what this team wants to be. But it'll be a tight game, but I think the Raiders win it.
Okay, so we're both on the Raiders.
Yeah,
we're spitting in the face of the show. And our next game, now that we're in the 4:00 slate, the Denver Broncos visiting the Seattle Seahawks. The show likes the Broncos to cover plus 5.5.
Bo Nix debut against a great defensive mind in Mike McDonald. Obviously, there's so much new in Seattle that gives me a lot of pause. But I mean, it's a rookie debut in a tough environment going to Seattle, right? I'm going to lean into the home team, and I think they can certainly be explosive in the passing game. But I'm going to trust that Seattle and their defensive staff, their defensive talent makes it very difficult on Bo Nix. They can score offensively at home.
Okay, I am going to. For entertainment value, we're different right now on Tennessee and Chicago. We're different on Jacksonville and Miami. I'm going to go Denver. I think it's a real wild card type of game. You mentioned Mike McDonald, and I think that's a great opportunity for Mike McDonald, but there's, like you said, a lot of new. I look at Denver and what they have invested in their offensive line. I think Bo Nix will probably be able to avoid critical mistakes. I think the explosive play element of their offense might be a little challenged. But I think Denver and what they have on their defensive side of the ball can get after Seattle a little bit as well. So I'm going to pick the Broncos in an upset on the road. Dallas visiting Cleveland. Browns favored by 2.5. I hate this game.
Yeah, I hate it so much. I think I'm going to pick the Browns, though. I feel like their defense is the thing I trust most, and they're at home. I've said that like 3 times now. And 2 rookies on that defense and that offensive line for Dallas, I think, is going to be a problem in week 1. Plus, you're counting on Terrence Steele to play better. I think Cleveland's defense can do enough in this game. And I mean, Dallas has got injuries on defense too. That gives me some concern. I don't love what Cleveland has cooking offensively, but I think they've gotten really good at kind of figuring that out, right? So I think this kind of falls into their script, especially at home.
Yeah, I have the Browns as well. The show likes the Browns to cover minus 2.5. The show has it at Cleveland minus 4. Tampa, home against rookie quarterback Jaden Daniels in his first career start. You can give me Tampa. I think they have the offensive line. I think they have some skill players that can really test Washington defensively, particularly in their first game with their system. And Todd Bowles going against a rookie quarterback, I think there's pristine opportunity there. Even if Jaden Daniels continues to make smart, sound decisions with the football, the consistency of the decisions to throw to guys that are going to get you wins after the catch, I think is up in the air. So give me Tampa Bay winning this game head-to-head.
I like Tampa as well. Todd Bowles against this Washington offense. He's going to blitz them like crazy over and over. Rookie left tackle. Questions about the Commanders' offensive line. Questions about their defense as well. I think the Bucs win this game at home.
The show likes Tampa by twice the actual spread of minus 3.5. So show likes it Tampa minus 7. All they need is minus 4 or better, and we will win that slot. We have 2 games left. Sunday Night Football. Rams, rematch of the wild card round last year. Rams visiting Detroit. The Lions are favored at home by 3.5. The show has it as Detroit minus 6. So the show likes Detroit to cover. I also like Detroit to win and cover. I don't need them to cover. I just need them to win. I'm picking Detroit.
Yeah, I don't think the Rams have the defense right now in place to make me believe they can go into Detroit and win this game. And the Detroit run defense is so good. And I feel like the Rams, their offense is going to be, they need to run the ball well. And nobody runs the ball.
How good of a matchup is that going to be?
It should be good, but like, I feel like
heavy hitters against heavy hitters.
Exactly. But which team can score, I think Detroit is going to light up this Rams defense.
Yeah, I just think it's too much youth for an environment like that, and Ben Johnson with a whole off season to kind of get ready for an opener. The Jets in San Francisco against the 49ers to open the season with the first Monday Night Football contest of the year. The 49ers are favored at home by 4.5. The show likes it. San Francisco minus 6.5. So the show is on the 49ers to cover at home after getting all of their reinforcements in the past week.
Yeah, I like the 49ers at home in this one. Rodgers, obviously, first game back, tough assignment. I don't really love the 49ers on defense right now, but I feel like the 49ers just have too much offensive talent at their disposal. And I mean, it's just a lot to deal with. And so for the Jets, where I feel like they're a little bit more thin on defense, especially with their defensive line, I don't really like what they have going in terms of some of the matchups, like Morgan Moses against Nick Bosa. I think there's a lot of one-on-ones that the 49ers can handle in this game at home on Monday night.
Yeah, I also have the 49ers winning this game head-to-head. So that brings us to 3 games that we are different on. We are keeping score all season long. I don't remember who won last year, but it was close. I think it was the final. It was you won on the final game of the year. Because I did the thing. I picked the Dolphins to win a game against the Buffalo Bills. And I said never again after that one. And I keep saying it. I'll probably keep picking Miami to win games at some point. But that's an illustration of how much fun we had with this last year. We did all the games, and Joe and I's head-to-head for the whole season came down to the last game of the year. So we hope you will enjoy the ride with us. We also had success against the spread. We'll see what this year brings. Show's picks are in Joe and I different on Tennessee, Chicago, Jacksonville, Miami, and Seattle and Denver. We got another show coming your way tomorrow. We're reacting to the season premiere tonight between Baltimore and Kansas City. We hope you will join us. You can find us on YouTube or wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. Make it a great rest of your day. We are out of here.